Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of CVTV Podcast. My name is Carlos, and I'm here with Dave Dockin, owner of CoralVue. How are you, Dave?
Doing great today, Carlos. How about you?
I'm doing well. Today's
Yeah.
podcast is going to be a recap on Rap Orlando, right?
Yeah. Great show, huh?
Great show. Yeah. So for everybody that is listening to us, welcome to CVTV Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, and we're slowly adding it to other channels. You can also see us, if you want to see our pretty faces, on YouTube. And then if you want to talk to us, if you want to ask us questions or anything, just head on over to Facebook. We have Facebook presence there. So Dave, let's talk about Rap. How's that experience so far?
I tell you, Carlos, this Reefapalooza Orlando, in my opinion, is the marquee show of the year. The guys, Lou, Vic, Ryan, Greg, everybody involved with the show in Orlando, the Reefapalooza show. It really is. They really knocked it out the park. The attendance, the organization of the show, what they do for the vendors, much appreciated. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, and let's talk about that experience because, as a vendor, we're having this amazing experience, but the end users too, the people that are showing up, the people that are walking and getting frags and visiting the manufacturers, I mean, it just looks amazing. What do you think of the experience?
I tell you, the attendance, it really is just incredible. At one point, I talked to a guy. He said he was his ticket number was 3,500 and something, and that was on a Saturday. So it really it's an incredible show. The Orlando area, for whatever reason it is just a mecca for our industry. The amount of hobbyists there, just incredible, really. If you've ever wanted to do a trade show and experience, I highly recommend get the family together. Maybe they can go to Disney for the day, and dad or mom and the family can take in the show.
You nailed it. Orlando just lends itself to be such a family oriented, so that the hobbyists can come to the Reefapalooza Rap Orlando, as we call it, and then the kids and the wife, or the kids and the partner, they can go to Universal Studios, and they can go to Disney. It's just a perfect place. So let's introduce everybody to the booth right now. Let's walk this booth because everybody. I want the people that are listening to, and I want our viewers to feel like they're right there. Yeah. So let's make our way to Abyzz.
Abyzz, yes.
I know. And Abyzz is 100% made German performance. I mean, it's German engineering is the best.
Yeah. 10-year warranty, Carlos. I don't know of anybody else in the industry that offers anything like that. The build quality is really impeccable. The rotor, if you look at the rotor assembly on this in these pumps, is really a work of art.
Yeah, it's 100% titanium. I mean, this is meant for the environment. I mean, let's be honest. The company is not going to give you a 10-year warranty unless they know it's going to last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this tank behind me. This tank behind me is running on 2 AFC 400s. And also 2, A400s and 2 AFC 150 flow cannons. So all the flow internally is from Abyzz.
So let's talk about the integration with hydros, because yours is fully integrated with hydros, and so is mine. So let's talk a little bit about that. How does it integrate?
So 0 to 10 is the protocol used, and I'm using the 2 AFC A400s and the AFC 150s all through 0 to 10. That's tied into hydros.
And what I like about it is that with 0 to 10 on the hydros is that you're not limited to no flow patterns. I know other controllers, you have to use their pump in order to take advantage of all the intricate flow patterns and everything that they do. With the hydros, we don't do that. You don't have to purchase our hardware in order to get access to the great features. So that always makes it, makes it so great and, easy to use.
Absolutely. On my tank, you know, one special or unique feature I like is what I call the hurricane mode. And for 5 minutes at the start of every hour, everything goes to 100%. So all this detritus can get stirred up from its maybe sitting in a typical pattern. But this 5 minute ramp up of just full on kind of turns things up, and you can really see it.
Yeah, and what makes it great also is that not only Hydros, I mean, obviously the Hydros has that feature, but if you're not a Hydros user and you just have the Abyzz, Abyzz calls it boost mode.
Yeah.
And the boost mode is exactly that. It's a 5 minute, 10 minute, whatever you want to set it, and everything runs at a particular high speed. You get to set that speed and it'll stir everything up, and then it'll go back to normal, preventing those dead spots and allowing the skimmer and everything else to pick it up and grab it and export it out of the system. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next store right here, right next to Abyzz,
Yeah.
and we have Fauna Marin.
Another German product.
You know, consumables, they have everything on the line when it comes to food, salt, and chemicals.
Carlos, I can't speak highly enough of the salt. I mean, you know, there's a lot of salts in our market, but until I personally used this and saw the results, to me, the results in the mixing bin or your mixing container. I was using a salt before. You should see the crap that just settled over the pumps, the piping, the walls of my mixing vat. It was disgusting.
You know what I've also seen too is that I have a mixing pump inside, and when I was using different salt, then I would take the pump out and put it outside because I don't mix salt every day. I mix salt, you know, once a month and so forth. But I would notice that the pump impeller would get stuck because it was sticky. It was sticky. Ever since I switched over to the Fauna Marin salt, the pump is no longer sticky. I don't have to go in there and help the impeller move. And, you know, kind of making our way into the ICP, because Fauna Marin also has ICP testing. What I've noticed is that when I was using the previous salt and I would do my monthly ICP test, I would be low on several, and I mean several elements. Now that I'm using the Fauna Marin salt, when I test, I'm only low on like 2 or 3 elements. So I can tell that this is a much better salt.
Absolutely. The quality of it. And what I learned from Claude, the owner, is that in Germany, you have to use food grade products, and it's just law. Well, with the salt, they actually use a food grade product that's used for children 2 and under. So it's an even more stringent qualification.
It's baby grade.
Baby grade ingredients. As ridiculous as it sounds, this is what German law makes them conform to. It's really, but the end result is a superior product.
Yeah. So let's move on to the ICP testing in here. We talked about the ICP testing because we can actually do elements at a time. But what I like about this, which is the unlocking, the secret sauce, as I call it, is that after you have 5 consecutive ICP tests, it unlocks this AI, and then the Fauna Marin software kind of predicts and can see trends and about trends on cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, and slow tissue necrosis, rapid tissue necrosis. And what I love about it is that it does it by looking at the intricacy in how elements work together, and the combination of ratios of different elements creates a particular pattern that then you can use this pattern to see if you're going to have cyano or not. I know that a lot of ICP tests out there, they give you a PDF file and you look at all the elements, and you look at the elements one at a time, and you look at them as individuals. But let's be honest, it's like the human body. You don't just look at calcium. You don't just look at cholesterol. You have to look at different things, blood pressure, cholesterol, because just one thing is not going to dictate what your health status is. And a lot of things depend on others. And this AI does that. Have you seen this AI?
It's an incredible tool. I mean, what Claude is doing with ICP, and I've never seen it with anybody else that does it. Just really, to me, leaps and bounds. And like you said, it's like a doctor looking at your own health and values of your blood work.
Yeah.
Things go together and patterns develop, and really he's given us this great tool, and we use it and highly recommend it.
Which brings me also to Ready to Reef. This product right here is amazing. You've used it. I've never used it because I haven't had the need, but you have.
So I have two other systems in the equipment room that I keep a lot of LPS in, and all I've ever used is Ready to Reef. Now, we know there's another product that's similar out there. I can tell you that this product from Fauna Marin is a little more powerful, so you don't need to go through it as much. But man, what a great product! One liquid, all you need. It's really awesome.
Fauna Marin has done some amazing things, and the reason why is because they are the biggest aquaculture farm in Europe, and then the farmers, the aquaculture facility is right next to the lab, so they have this incredible. Both the farmers have access to the testing machines, and the testing lab people have access to the farmers, and they back and forth with an isolation. There's a limit to what they do, but they can go back and forth and look at things and how they work and how they test. It just makes it a complete company instead of just a lab, or just a farm.
Carlos, I don't know of anybody else in this industry that does anything like that. You know, you're talking about they're making products and they're using it in their farm to make healthy stock for growth, to aquaculture these corals. So, you know, how better to use or test your products you're making than on corals itself?
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, let's move on here. Let's talk about Dymax. Dymax is a company out of Singapore, and they have some really good products, and they have everything. I mean, they're heavy on the fresh water, but they also have salt water. And what I like about it too is that they're incredibly affordable.
Yeah. Great product line, lots of unique products, a lot of tools.
Yes. And I know that you love their food.
The food is really, I switched all my pellet food to them, and can't speak highly enough of it. The smell of the food, it just smells fresh, like fresh ingredients, a lot of garlic. The fish go crazy for it, and they look great. So that's my go-to now.
Yeah, Dymax, just keep an eye on it. It's a great company. All right, moving on. Reef Octopus. Oh my God. Reef Octopus, our baby, our partner, Reef Octopus. We've been in business with them for 20 years, Dave.
Yeah.
You believe that?
These people, time flies, and these people are like family to me. I can't speak highly enough of them and what they're doing there. But we're going to do something in the short term here, another video, and go into some detail about the 20 years and exactly, how they've come up with these quality products they offer.
Yeah. It's the most popular product in the world when it comes to skimmer. I mean, there is the epitome of a protein skimmer is Reef Octopus.
There's reasons why this is the best selling skimmer in the world. And we'll talk about those things in detail. But shout out to Derek, the CEO, all their staff do an amazing job. They're very passionate about their build quality and the hobby itself.
Okay. The quality. Derek, he's worked for so many years in Europe, and he brings this European mentality with European quality control into China. So just because this company is Chinese, they go out of their way for quality, and that's and let's be honest, that is why also the product commands a higher price. We have this Various 10 in here, and Various 10, they went through 48 iterations of that pump before they finally came out with the production version of it. You know, there's something to be said about, we don't want something that is just good enough. We want something that is good, something that is quality. Another thing that is great, and I know you love this, is they build the skimmer to fit the pump. Exactly.
So you know, when you look at a lot of the or every other skimmer manufacturer, they're taking a pump and trying to make a pinwheel impeller that conforms within the power factor of that pump, and then team it with a body that can handle whatever amount of air it can produce. With Reef Octopus, it's totally backwards. They're designing a pump with a specific air intake in mind, and then putting that to the skimmer body, that size that they want. So you're taking a pump that is built just to be a skimmer pump. You can't take a regular impeller now, change them, and think it's going to work. It won't. It will burn up. It'll be totally out of the power factor.
And that's the difference. And, you know, there's no secret sauce. That's the difference. And that's why a Reef Octopus skimmer is such high quality, and it's regarded as one of the best, if not the best skimmer out there because of that. All right, moving on. Here we have our, we love IceCap. IceCap is kind of like it's got a little bit of everything. It's the friendly, is the economic brand. But just because it's economic doesn't mean it's not high quality. I mean, some of this stuff is actually pretty darn good, right, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we design everything. That's our own brand in house. We do outsource some of the building of it. But yeah, you know, the designs you see and what we've come up with has produced a lot of unique products that have served people well.
I know we have the turf scrubbers. We go from turf scrubbers to media reactors, caulk reactors, to biomedia blocks. We have tweezers, and we have probe holders. I mean, the wide array of product that IceCap brand has is incredible, and it's affordable. Take a look at it. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it. Stop at the stores. If they don't have it at the store, just tell the owner, hey, I want some IceCap products here. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. So one thing that we forgot about IceCap is that IceCap also has a new line of tanks and cabinets. It's an all-in-one, and it's got a white cabinet. And on top of this tank, we are actually running a Reef Brite light. It's called the new Lumi Pro Actinic. That's what that's what they're calling it, which is an amazing. It comes in different sizes, ranging from 8 inches to 72 inches. And Dave, can you control it with the hydros?
Absolutely. It's 0 to 10 again.
I love that. I love that. You know, again, CoralVue is a distribution company, and we are partners with other manufacturers. There's no reason why we need to create this walled garden where nobody else can do this, and we're creating a product where you can only use hydros. It doesn't benefit the customer, and at the end of the day, it doesn't benefit us, because we're not going to spend resources trying to reinvent the wheel and create another light.
A great point, Carlos. I mean, and that's it. And as much as I'd like to say everything we offer, people are going to buy, it's never going to be that way. And people like different things, and other manufacturers can come up with great products. So why not play nice together and work together and ultimately let the consumer decide what they like best. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah. So, you know, Hydros is working with a Reef Brite, and Reef Brite, you know, with IceCap, and it's just one big happy family. You know,
absolutely.
People are going to make fun of me for saying that, but it is truly. And at the end of the day, it benefits the end user. All right. Moving on to ITC.
Yeah.
And ITC, our friends from
the UK.
From the UK. And how do you like ITC? I mean, their big product is PARwise. I love this thing. What do you think?
It's a great tool, Carlos. I mean, you know, there's a competitor out there that's probably almost double the cost. But when you look at the software that's included with the ITC, it's really pretty unique.
You have this You have the spectrum, you have the and it also gives you PAR, CCT, Lux, and and just the spectral analysis. So you can actually see what the corals are seeing. And there's nothing better than that, because the human eye just cannot do that.
Correct. So, so light is food for our corals. You know, we need to see, it may look good enough to our eye, but without having a measurement to know what this specific coral needs in terms of lighting, you need this tool. So it's really, you know, and lighting can degrade over time. So you really want to take periodic measurements of your PAR.
And best of all is to compare to the next measuring device out there. This is pretty much half the price.
Yeah, exactly. $299.
I don't know
great
how
value, I think.
I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and it's actually high quality. I know Tulio, who's Reef Brite, and he's all about lighting. He was pretty impressed with the ITC, and he uses a lot of equipment that we were never going to be able to afford. Yes, so but he was very impressed with the ITC, and he thought that for consumers at home,
for a hobbyist grade, it's a great tool.
All right, moving on to Seneye Reef, which is kind of like a monitoring company. It's a monitoring device. You know, it monitors pH, temperature, and ammonia. And it does it with this replacement, this little card that you put in there, and I think it's once a month that you replace it, right?
Yep. Yeah. So it's a little card, replacement card that you put in the device, and then it'll give you those values off of the sensor. So it's a great little tool. You know, it just sits in the top of the tank. You know, the ammonia reading is really nice, Carlos, especially when you're getting started.
Exactly. Well, you can do this, and you can do this on freshwater and saltwater. So if you have like a little nano tank or 20, 30 gallon tank that you're starting freshwater, and you know what? I don't want to put a hydros on this because I'm just starting. Then think about Seneye. It's actually a pretty good monitor that'll give you some warnings.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. And then from ITC, which I kind of like because it's kind of cool, it's the Reef Delete. You know, I get pleasure from grabbing that light and putting it on that annoying aptation. Burn. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a UV light, and what it does is it just destroys pests. Obviously, what you're doing is you're kind of exposing the pest to UV light, so you're not going to be able to kill it on one pass. It may take a couple of passes, but technically you're messing up with the reproductive system, and then it can't reproduce, and then it just dies off. Yeah.
Really cool. Really fun little tool to play with.
So let's move on. Let's move on to our baby, our hydros. All right. So we have a few new products for hydros, and I'm going to save the best for last. Let's talk about the launch. Yeah. That's a brand new product. It's a new release, and it was born out of necessity.
Yeah, I think so, Carlos. I mean, you know, a lot of people were coming to us. We're always listening to what our audience has to say, and they were kind of expressing they didn't know where to start. They were like, we see all of these controllers or modules, and they were kind of confused, saying, I just don't know where to start. It seems overwhelming. Do I need everything? And so with that in mind, we let's put something together that could be at a launching point, the starting point. And this is what we come up with, and it's called the Hydros Launch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It doesn't it answers that question of what do I start with? You have so many. It's almost like going to a restaurant and getting a menu that is like 10 pages long, and it's a book. And I'm like, oh my god! And then you go is you turn around to the waitress and go, so what do you recommend? You know, what's good here? You know, we wanted to do something where you would be able to actually look at one page menu, and it's got it's a prefix menu. It has here's your entree, here's your appetizer, here's your dessert. Everything is set for you, and here's where you go, here's where you start. And then if you want something, if you're still hungry, then you can order something else. And that's what we wanted to do. And
you look at the launch, and probably people are going to be like, well, it doesn't have enough AC outlets. It's only got 4. No problem. Get it, team it, start with the launch, and then you can add an XP8. So now you have 12 outlets.
But also what I like, Dave, and I'm sorry, is the drive boards, because
Yeah.
people forget about the drive ports. The drive ports are 12 volts, which means that it will cover your ATO pump, a little cabinet light. If you have a nano tank, it'll cover the light above the tank. If you have a nano tank with a nano skimmer, a lot of those nano skimmers, they come with a pump that is 12 volts. So you have 4 drive ports that can handle the ATO pump, the light over the tank, and they can handle the skimmer. Once you take those 3 things out, what do you have left? Now you have a heater, then you have a pump, and maybe something else. So technically, even though you only have 4 AC outlets, because of those 12-volt drive ports, it actually can go a longer way. It covers more, so the launch is not as small as it seems.
Correct. It really is robust in terms of what it offers. You're talking pH, salinity, and 0 to 10.
Yeah, 0 to 10 volt input.
So
yeah. And the price is the great thing because it's only $549. So you can't beat that price. You get a little bit of everything for $549. And then if you need something else, then you go ahead and add it. All right, moving on. We also have the Minnow. And
Minnow.
I like the Minnow. And for somebody that, deals with support and also development and also, social media, it's one of those things that answers that question for the X10. I remember when we released the X10 and everybody was like, well, can I just have the pumps? Yeah. And this was the answer. This is it. This is just the pumps with 4 sensors. It's simple. It's $249. And it gets the point and it gets the job done. It's a standalone controller. And if you look at it, if you compare it to any other 2-headed pump out on the market, we beat their price.
Yeah, $249.99. It's like Carlos said, it's a standalone. And if you determine, well, I don't have enough heads, buy another one. Or if you have a Hydros already, maybe you could buy the Hydros doser that connects to a drive port. Now you have 3 or 4. So we trying to give options. And I kind of look at this as a good with the Hydros doser, Minnow better, and then X10 best.
Yes.
If you want to look at it in that sense.
And I like to tell people, it's like, think of the Minnow as a controller too. It's not just a dosing pump. Let's say you have that IceCap, the tank that we just saw. And now you don't want to put a controller, you don't want to put something in there, you just want to monitor it. The Minnow is great because the Minnow allows you to connect a temperature sensor. Now you have a water sensor for your ATO, and then you have a leak detector, and you still have 1 sensor port available. Now, people are talking about the ATO. Well, the dosing pumps, dosing pump number 1 can be your ATO. It can actually grab fresh water from the tank and put that. And then pump number 2, Dave, ready to reef.
Ready to reef, 1 solution.
It's it.
Done.
And then you have this tank with an IceCap tank with the Reef Brite light and then a Minnow under it. And that's it. What else do you want?
That's it. And it's monitored. You're getting notifications. You're getting all the Hydros software. It's really, it's great. Just, I can't, for a small tank, it's really the way to go.
All right. So let's talk about the Maven now. Let's talk about the Maven, because the Maven is, it's been a show where none of the reps here, everybody here at CoralVue has been just busy. Yep. I don't know how many times I've given what we call the spiel on the Maven from people.
I thought a couple of times you were going to lose your voice. You were like, Dave, I don't know if I could keep going.
Actually, I did pretty well. I mean, sometimes I do pretty bad, but actually I did pretty well. So it was good. So why Maven? What is Maven? What does Maven mean?
Maven means all knowing. It's kind of, if you think of this as your all knowing device for your aquarium. We're talking about the parameters that are critical for a reef aquarium: calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, nitrates, phosphates. I mean, this is the holy grail. We talked about this, and this is the holy grail of parameters for vitality of a reef aquarium.
You know, and people ask me all the time, it's like, why did we announce it so early? Because it's not ready yet. It's probably it's
Yep.
going to be ready at the end of the year, and the price is going to be $1,200,
Yep.
$11.99. But the question that I got is, why did you guys release it? Usually, you wait until the product is pretty much ready to go in order to tell us about it and release it. You keep things on the wrap, and honestly, you and I have talked about this. It was just the right time. And the fact that, let's be honest, full transparency, I was getting tired of people asking, when are you coming with the testing machine?
Yeah. And that was a big part of it, Carlos. So many people were just telling us, we really want to switch to hydros, but, I got a testing machine I'm using. And when are you guys coming? What's this? And we're just like, hang tight. And we just felt like it was a good time to let people know, hey, it's coming. It's something that's going to work.
And that's key. And that's something that's going to work, because we are not coming with a Me Too product out there. We're not just copying somebody out there. We spent a lot of time coming up with solutions to the common problems that the other machines have. Let's and I'm going to go. Let's go over the features. Okay. External cuvee. Why an external cuvee? Because at the end of the day, Murphy's Law, statistically, the point where it's going to overflow the most is where you pour the water for the testing. Something happens and it overflows. So if you have that cuvee inside the machine, it overflows, it exposes the electronics to water, and then the machine is done.
Not just water, Carlos. We're talking about chemicals. Some of them are very acidic.
So we took that cuvee and we placed it outside the unit. So now if it overflows, the water is just gonna flow down and drop, and the important electronics are inside. Actually, all the electronics are inside, because there's a shield, there's a faceplate, that transparent faceplate that isolates the electronics from the cuvee. The eye is behind the faceplate. The stirring motor is behind the faceplate. The dosing pump, the pinch valves, everything is behind that faceplate. So if it overflows, so what? Wipe it and done.
Not only that, Carlos, to me, when we set out on this path, the biggest thing was serviceability. If we had to have a machine that needed to be sent in for repairs and cleaning, and it was just going to become a nightmare for the consumer and for us. So that's what really we wanted to figure something out.
And it's not just serviceability. We also sat down and we dug in. You could say, okay, we want a machine that needs to be serviced, that will minimize the serviceability of it. But then you have to sit down and look at it. Okay, why does it need to be serviced? What are the causes for service? Is it because the pump goes bad? Is it because the dosing pump goes bad? And we found out from experience that it actually, most of the time, is not the pump that is bad. Is the fact that when you leave reagent inside the lines and you don't purge it, you don't rinse the line, you don't blow the lines out, then that reagent starts to dry out. And if you don't run tests constantly, then that reagent really dries up and it crystallizes, and then it clogs the lines. So we didn't want you to be sending a machine in that the only reason why you're sending it on a yearly basis is because the lines are clogged, and it has nothing to do with the pumps. So what did we do? We developed a rinsing process that is also used by big waste companies out there, where you grab, after each test, we're going to take salt water and we're going to rinse all the lines. We're going to take RODI water and we're going to rinse the lines. And after that, there's a air pump inside the Maven that is going to blow out those lines and dry them. And then the machine is going to go idle. So while you will have to do some service, it's not going to be as often as the other machines. And this is the explanation of why. We're not telling you it's going to be, you're not going to service it as often and we stop. We're telling you why you're not going to have to service it as often.
One other, big thing that we found with another testing device was that the cuvee and the reagents have dyes in them. As you keep running tests through this cuvee, which holds the reagents, the dyes tend to stick to the cuvee on the interior. And without being able to clean it every time, these pigments and dyes just keep building up to the point that the eye can no longer make an accurate reading. So with these other machines, it was almost impossible to gain access to this cuvee. So we were like, hey, we got to have a machine that can be easily accessible and allow the customer to either clean it or replace the cuvee easily. And that's what we did.
You know, another thing that we did, Dave, is that, you know, every time you do a test and you look at the bottle, it'll say shake vigorously before testing. Okay. But then the machines out there, they're expecting you just to put the bottles in there, close the machine, and then never stir it, never do anything. So what happens when the stuff settles down? What happens when all the active ingredients at the bottom get used up, and then it works great for the first month, but after that, it doesn't work anymore. So what we've done is that same air pump that we're using to blow out the lines, to purge the lines and clean them, we're using that air pump. Before every single test, we are using air to agitate the reagents so that when you pull that reagent in, it's going to be stirred up and, you know, kind of like what the manufacturers want to do. And that in itself will increase the precision and the accuracy of the tests. You know,
and the longevity of the reagent.
Exactly. And not only that, we're using air because there's one less mechanical thing to worry about.
Yeah.
You know, air.
Instead of another magnet, another motor spinner.
Exactly. And then the cuvee removal, we talked about that, serviceability. I find it so funny that it's such a small thing, such a tiny thing that has nothing to do with the testing, has nothing to do with the accuracy or or precision. The lure lock connectors.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Convenience. Yeah.
I know. I was showing this to people and people are like, oh my God, that was some of the times it's like they actually paid attention to them more than they paid attention to anything else. It's done. I mean,
the little things.
The little things. Thank you.
Yep.
It's the little things. We did not want you to be using Quick Connect. We didn't want you to use a barb L and anything. No, we wanted to be easy where you can just twist and lock. It's easy to connect and you don't have to worry about not sealing it correctly or air leaking. It's just so much easier. That was one of the things. And color coded. Yeah. Every line is color coded. You cannot make a mistake on this.
Yeah.
The color of the line matches the color on the label of the bottle. I mean,
we're trying to keep it simple.
Yes. Now, Dave, let's talk about the reagents because this is something that people are going to be asking all the time. How many tests can we get on the kit of reagents that are currently on the display here?
About 100.
100 tests.
100 tests. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be transparent, and I know Dave is going to be like, yes, we got to be transparent. Once you crack that open, once you open that reagent, the clock starts ticking. So, you know, I don't want people to think that they're going to be able to test for 2 years because it won't. Now, in terms of timing, we're still trying to figure it out. We are still, you know, we have the information, but we're not ready to release it yet. But what I wanted to say also is that you don't have to test everything if you don't want to, Dave.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Imagine that. You don't have to burn through reagent just because we want to sell you more reagent.
Yeah, exactly. So if I want to know what the phosphate level is, I don't have to test alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, nitrate, and phosphate. If I want to know what my magnesium level is, I don't have to test alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, phosphate, nitrate just to find out the magnesium level. Right. I'll give you an example of what you can do with Maven and Hydros. You can test alkalinity 2 times a day. You can test calcium and magnesium once a week. You can test nitrates and phosphates once a day. You can do that. We're not going to force you to test everything all the time.
Correct.
Yes.
And let's keep in mind, Carlos, you got 2 water inputs. So you can test another tank, a frag tank, another water source. So you can run 2 different water sources. So you could see how you could use more reagent or not. It's giving you options.
You can do, like you said, another water source. What if you want to test your calcium reactor effluent? What if you're running a nitrate, sulfur reactor to lower your nitrates, and you have to keep an eye on your, you and I both, you have to keep an eye on on the nitrate level of the effluent. That's what we wanted to do. Yes. Having the second tank is a great benefit, and I know I had people say to me, it's like, well, I don't have 2 tanks, so I don't take advantage of it. And then I go, well, what about your calcium reactor? What about your nitrate reactor? And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I know everybody kind of thinks of products as they fit their personal need, but as a manufacturer, we can't just think of the one person's need. We have to think of a wide array of needs of what people would be using this product for, and then try to satisfy those needs. So yes, today you may not have a second tank. You may be just 1 tank, and that's what you do, and things change. 6 months from now, you'll get the itch, and then you'll get a second tank, and then you'll be like, oh, thank God, Maven has 2 tanks in there. Let me use that, So we can always use that test kit. You can always use those 2 lines for whatever you need,
You can always test your saltwater mix. So, you're making fresh saltwater, using the salt, you want to check the parameters of it. You got another water intake.
And one more test that we don't talk about, but is there, and I know you like it, is the water clarity test.
Yeah. So why this? So in order to purge the lines and to clean those lines like we talked about, we need a little reservoir of RO water. So when we look at that RO water, that should be the clearest water that you're going to look at. So we need a reference. So we take that RO water reference and compare it to the clarity of the tank water. And what we're looking for is yellowing of the water. Why do we have yellowing? You could have an algae scrubber. It happens. And to your eye, you'd be like, oh, it looks great. But once it starts yellowing, your lighting then becomes impacted. And, the PAR is not, the lights can't penetrate the water to provide that needed PAR and spectrum. So this is, it's another tool, and it can be greatly beneficial.
Because
I'm using it and love it.
Because what you can do is then you can say, if it gets to this yellowing level, then go ahead and turn on the ozone.
UV. Yep.
Or turn on the UV, or send me an alert because now I need to go and change my carbon.
Exactly.
Those are things, again, we're just trying to figure out ways that you can multi-use the machine, but still keep it simple. The machine is going to work with the Hydros app, so it's super simple to use. No programming, no advanced programming, no coding that needs to be done.
Yep. And let's forget one other important thing, Carlos. This is a standalone machine. It's a controller. You also have 2 sense ports, 2 drive ports. So you can bring in some other, leak detectors, level sensors, ATO pumps, solenoids. These are all things that you can bring in to this device.
Yeah. So Dave, we have a lot of products: Maven, Minnow, Launch. We cover Abyzz, Reef Octopus, Reef Brite. So far, this show has been an amazing show. We've had a great response from people. We've had a blast. I think your experience. You had a great time. You got a lot of people, a lot of manufacturers, and people coming over to say, "Hey, great job on the Maven," right, Dave? We've had
I really overwhelming, and appreciate the kind words. And
yes, exactly.
So, if you didn't get to see us in Orlando, come come look for a show near you and check us out. We'll have Maven with us.
Yes. So I want to say thank you so much for our listeners. You are the people that make this happen. Dave and I do this because we have fun. We want to share our interests. We want to share our knowledge. And if you have any questions about any of the products that we've covered, IceCap, Reef Octopus, Abyzz, or, hydros, feel free. Just send an email to support@coralvue.com. This is Carlos from CoralVue, thanking you all. Thank you, Dave, for always being my co-host. Our co-hosts are, we always have a great time. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next time.